Hello and welcome to One on One. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabalani. Now, today we're joined by Antoinette Sithole. Sithole, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Now, a number of people might not be familiar with your face, and some might. You are the sister of the late Hector Pieterson, from that famous picture that we saw in 1976, where your brother was being held. Just perhaps today we're talking women. We're talking about the role of women in the struggle and how their voices are lost in the conversation when we celebrate men. But today we want to put women at the forefront of the struggle. Just talk to me about that day and your role beyond people seeing you now in dismay.
Actually, that day was, like I would say, a very blessed day. You know, remember, we heard from our parents that we were going to demonstrate, especially as girls, you know, because most of the parents would say, hey, we don't want girls going alone or, you know, with boys. No, they would say something. So being in the forefront or being there, it was so fulfilling, you know, like a girl during that time. Now you felt like, no, I can also take part in anything, not necessarily the demonstration. I'm showing my boldness. I want to be part of that demonstration. I want to be part of the change.
What was your understanding of the need to be part of that demonstration?
Well, I felt like if we are going to be taught in that medium of Afrikaans, and I was dissatisfied, was I going to be the first person to say, I am not satisfied, what should we do? If not, I can just join in because I felt like I should be part of the change. And if it was not for me, it would be for generations to come. So I needed to be there.
And then the socialization of women back then, let's say young girls. You had parents that discouraged you to be part of the struggle or part of the demonstrations on that day. Why was it? How was the child's upbringing around the 70s?
Well, you know, I was brought up by my granny. So my granny would always say, no, don't mix up with all this, what is happening around you. You know, you need to be a woman and you need to do women things. At some point you'd get confused, you know, like you have to prepare yourself to be married, you know, as a girl.
Don't worry about school.
You must act like one, you must do like one, you know. That means you are preparing yourself, and actually who is actually monitoring you? It's your grandmother or your mother. So you were taught that you should be actually behave yourself, show that you can be, not to any man you can be married, you know, you know, try and be smart, you know, in a way. That's how we were taught. Even at schools, we were taught how to behave ourselves, even though we never understood whether it links to what we were being told at home, but would always be consecutive.
You were told how to carry yourself as a young lady.
Yes, and be consecutive, you know. Don't just laugh, don't papa, you know, we say papa, yeah, you know, something like that.
So here you are, you decide that you're going to partake in the demonstrations on that day. And what grade were you in at the time? And the late Hector Pieterson, what grade was he?
Well, you know, Grace, they always confuse me. I
was standard, yes, from 3.
And then Hector was in standard 4. Yeah, so we're really apart. So being in Form 3, you are like already you are in high school, so you feel like a lady, you know. Some of the things you can do, some you cannot do, you know. But what contributed is that, yes, at home they are strict, but I can still make up my mind, even though I'm young, but I'm preparing myself to be an adult. Yeah.
So then on that very day, your younger brother takes part. Did you agree for him to take part in those demonstrations? Or you didn't even need to have that conversation because in any event he was a man or a young boy, so you expected them to be part of these demonstrations?
Actually, you know, my brother did not even know what was going on. I think he heard the hearsay in the street, but otherwise younger ones were not supposed to take part. But because we came from different parts of Soweto, and some of the schools would be on the same street, like my brother's school was on the same street with mine. So I think because we were singing and chanting, as we were passing, they could hear the singing, the sound, the different uniforms, and they knew that their elderly brothers and sisters attending those schools. I think that also gave them, like, well, if the uniform is like this, that means my younger sister or my sister is in that demonstration, I might as well follow suit, but they were not some part and parcel of that. So he did not know anything. I think he was just out there curious, and that's it.
And then someone calls you to tell you that your brother has now been wounded.
Not necessarily. While we were doing the hide and seek with the police, like when we hear the shot, we'd go into hiding, and when it's come, would emerge back to the pavement. That's how actually I spotted my younger brother. At first, it was like, oh, maybe it's not him, but I will try this. I will call him with his cultural name, which was Zolile. So because I thought if I say Hector, maybe there are many Hectors around us. So it's best if I called him with that name. So I called his name, and he quickly looked around. You could see that he heard that somebody called out his name. And when he looked from where I was, I just waved, and he came closer smiling. As a big sister, I had to make my voice a little bit hard so that you could listen, because, boys you have to repeat yourself for them to listen. Yeah, that's how actually I saw my brother, that moment.
And then in that moment, there was commotion. What happened, in as much as you can recall?
Well, as we were doing the hide and seek, as I've talked to my brother to come closer, while I was talking to him, there was another shot, so we had to go back into hiding. Unfortunately, we went two separate ways. So when it's come, I had to sneak back to the pavement to see if other students are already there. Luckily, they were there, so my eyes started roving, thinking I might spot him again. But not very far from where I was, something happened there, and students were busy gathering the scene. So I sort of had two minds, whether I should go and investigate or stay. Eventually, I chose to stay because I thought he might come around looking for me, and we are going to miss one another. But I was very anxious to know what was happening there. I had to stay. Yes, my eyes were roving, and at the same time, thinking that if he comes around, we can take any street. If not, we should wait for other students to be in a group of 5 or 6, then we can hit the road. So I don't know, maybe because of confusion and my mind was wandering, I just saw a man coming from nowhere, running towards me. But that was very funny because I could see that he's just running straight to me, even though he passed, so my eyes followed him. Actually, he was focusing at that crowd where students were gathered. When he got there, you could see that he was making way, pushing these other students. And all of a sudden, it seemed like that man was struggling or trying to get something from these other student hands. As he lifted, yes, I could see the body frame. As he lifted for the second time, the first thing that I spotted, it was my brother's shoes. So I tried running to the scene. Already they were on their way running towards me. I joined them, and as we continued running, I was asking this man, who are you? This is my brother, I've been looking for him. Where are you taking him? He never said anything, just kept on running. Then I looked at my brother. I saw blood coming from the side of the mouth. I panicked. Who are you? Can't you see my brother's hurt? Where are you taking him? He never said anything. And all of a sudden, a car just stopped in front of us, and one lady jumped out of the car, introduces herself as a journalist and said she can help us. So as that man was about to put my brother in the car, he said, oh, he's dead. Hearing that, I was sort of like torn into two. I could see myself on the other end crying in desperation. To me, it was like, this is not real, it can't be happening. The next moment I was at the clinic, and the clinic looked very strange, like it has been long deserted. But I knew there were people there. So I had to bang, knock, windows crying out for help. And one white doctor came out. He took my brother out of the car, inside the clinic, and he said to me, there was nothing more that he could do. I understood him very well.
That trauma, to this day, you know, we are all taught about this linear process of grieving, that there are 5 stages of grieving. We first go through denialism, we're angry, and then at some point, there's the now acknowledging the pain, and then you start to heal. Does it really work in that fashion, that it's linear, one step to another, or you could find yourself relapsing after having accepted, and then another day you're traumatized all over again?
I think it's up to individuals, you know, how we pursue our lives, you know. Yeah, you feel pain, but from the very same pain you can be a better person, you know, because life is so complex. Sometimes you don't understand it itself.
But it shaped your life.
Yeah.
It was a profound moment.
Yes.
In your life, very poignant. But you know, this tragedy can either shape it for the good or for the bad.
Yeah. But I preferred, you know, and I remember I never went for counseling, even though the Truth and Reconciliation came on board in 1996. No, people were saying, oh, they've come to open up old wounds and for what? Already we have moved on, you know. But I felt like I should go there, give my story so that I can find closure.
But then the grieving in public, you know, we all go through moments where we lose loved ones. It might not be perhaps in the most traumatic of ways, as with what happened with your brother. But nevertheless, most of us are familiar with loss, but we get to be people that are afforded the privacy to grieve. You had to grieve publicly. You had probably never been in the front page of a newspaper, but to constantly see your image of grief, because you looked distraught. I mean, I was just telling people, do you guys remember who this lady is today that's visiting us? They said, she looks familiar. I said, it's the lady in that picture with Hector Pieterson. That is forever the image of you. How did it make you feel? Because some can easily think maybe it's somewhere where you become famous, but you could say that every time I see such an image, it takes me to that moment. My picture of grief has been sort of put in the book of history.
Well, you know, at first, I wouldn't really dare look at the picture. It used to break me down. But one day I just felt like, no, I cannot carry on like this. I have to find ways to deal with the picture itself. So what I did, I was actually trying that. I had to distance myself from the picture. Like I would say, I know those people in the picture, but I am not one of them. But I had to work that through. It was not easy. It was not easy. How can I pretend? And
yet here we were. The media was celebrating this image that, yes, it showed what was happening in South Africa at the time. So it shone the light on the plight of black South Africans at the time and young people. But here you were struggling to identify with that woman because it always took you to that horrible place on that day.
It did, you know. But I always say it's life, and life is very complex. We still pull through and be positive. Can you imagine if I didn't try all those sorts of, you know, ideas that I had, you know, like, yes, I know those people, I'm not one of them. If not, I've read a book or I've seen a movie. I wouldn't be here. I had to try and survive. I had to show myself or tell myself that I am bold, I can do it. Everything that I did on my own.
And then
nobody came and said, hey, what? I did everything on my own.
Which is quite unfortunate because as we all spoke about the image, sometimes we forgot about the individuals. As I say, that really they are ordinary citizens that still live, reside in Soweto, and they have ordinary problems. Was there during that time maybe an interest from the media to perhaps find out your story, how you're doing, and your relation to that image?
Well, not usually it would happen. They only come for a story, and they will talk about it, either a story, newspapers, BBC, or you name them, all the media in different forms. They only want to get the story. That means I am repeating what I have been repeating. And that's it. That's it. You know? So it's like this is my life. I can't actually look after my life. So I have to, it's like my life is being controlled by public, you know. I can't be on my own. I can't do things on my own.
So who is Mme Sithole today? Outside of this tragedy that many have known you for, who is she? Outside of what people always want to associate you with, that image of tragedy, now for South Africans who want to get to know who you are, who is this mother? She's a mother, she's a grandmother.
I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I've got 3 children, and 2 boys and 1 girl. And you know, boys are more closer than my girl, even though it's starting to pick up, but I'm more closer to my boys, you know. Even when I talk to them, it's like I'm talking to, we are same peers. I can talk their language in the street, of which I love very much. It makes youth out there or children to understand you better, because I work too much with children. So if you know the lingua outside, hey, you are number 1, you know. They get like, something like that, you know. But if you actually be in their minds, be like them, that's how you attract them to get closer to you, so that you can tell a story and you make examples with them, not with somebody from that time. You make examples with them, you know, like whatever example you do, use them. They understand better.
And then your role right now as a tour guide, I know you're working quite well, quite closely with the Hector Pieterson Memorial.
Yes, yeah. I used to work there, so I left in 2014. No, I felt like, no, I can't breathe. It's best if I shift. No, I felt like I've already played my role there. Let me shift. But even so, I'm still there almost every time I'm there. So people would ask me, said you have left work, but you're still here. Yeah, I said to them, no, it's my home, unfortunately. Something pushes me here, even though I left, but I always make my appointments to be at the Hector Pieterson Museum. So that's my life. So I'm a granny, I'm a mother, and I'm very fond of people. It's a pity because I remember when I was born, my mother said I was a premature. So I was so small, people couldn't really hold me. And then they said, no, we'll break her. Then 4 months down the line, I became a giant. You know, like those people who are this, what is it, sport, sumo. I was just like that. So people said, ooh, we can't carry this. So it's like, you know, I have been living a life of isolation in a way, you know. Only then, because now I can speak to people, it's like now my life has turned around again, you know, like people are closer to me because of the incident that happened. So I feel great. I don't have a problem.
When we talk about the struggle then of 1976, and we look at the struggle of women of 1956, the young people had a cause and those women had a cause. Just looking broadly today in society, do you think we have identified our cause? That women today know what their struggle is, and are we pushing forward together to perhaps correct those wrongs?
Well, I would say yes, we know, and people know, but it seems to me like it's like a 50-50 basis. You know, some women, yes, do understand, and they know they have to pick up from all those people or all those women who marched in 1950 and the struggle of 1976. It's like now we are torn in between. We've got those who still cherish, you know, what happened in 1950 and 1976, and the other ones said, well, it's life, yes, we know about it, and that's it, you know. But there are those who feel like those women actually played a very important chapter in our lives. They were actually they started that, and they wanted us to carry the baton. Unfortunately, 76 came, so it was a mixed. But during that 1976 also, women also played a major role. They were the ones that hid the children while police were searching for them. They would actually take a stand and say, there are no children there, it's best if you kill me or you arrest me. That was very, very important. Remember that we never told our parents that we'll be going in the streets. But out of nowhere, they would come boldly and say, hide yourselves in my house, everywhere where you like. And they would be the one who were actually helping even with the wounds. Doesn't matter whether it's a short wound or by fence, maybe the fence teared you or whatever, but they were there for us. Sometimes you think of those women, you don't know where they are. You know, sometimes you feel like you should go back there. Just have a chat about the day. For them to tell you how they felt while police were actually running after us. So it's a pity because some of them, they're no longer there, but some are there, but some they can't even remember. But
as
those
an
women,
oppressed, yes, ma'am. But then as an oppressed society, we fought so many struggles. But now when you listen to the president addressing the official Women's Day celebrations, it seems we're not at a point where we can celebrate that women are free.
yes,
Men and women fought side by side to defeat apartheid.
yes,
But now, women and men are at opposing ends because men have decided that the new victim would be the woman.
yeah.
How do you feel about what you see perhaps even in your community, how women are treated?
Yeah, it's a pity because, yes, we are called women, we don't deny that. Men are called men. They won't change because we are superior to them. That won't change them to be men. It's like there's a society that's afraid of women in a way. You see how women are being raped, how women are being abused. Is there something wrong? There is. If you are a man and you feel offended when you see a woman, does it make sense? Something is not right. I don't know whether it's in the society or it's us because we're oppressed, so we're thinking narrow. I am not sure.
But what role are we playing, or mothers playing, in perhaps this notion where we had the president saying that we need to bring up our boy children in a different way? Because you have a young boy in the house, a young girl, and somehow the young girl is taught to serve everybody, including the brother.
Yes, yeah.
So the brother grows up knowing that he is superior.
Yes.
So how much of a role do we play in creating this situation that we're seeing today?
That is not as bad, but you look at it today, unlike when we grew up. Now, when I grew up, I knew that I must wash dishes, and my cousin, because I had a cousin, Hector, was not even there. But you find that my brother had to do some chores also. He had to clean the house, do his washing, and we take turns when washing dishes. My granny did not really say, you are a boy, you are a girl. We were all the same to her. So that also made me bold that I thought I'd be doing everything, because you can hear others even when we are at school talking about how we do our chores. But today, as mothers, I think we also partly we have failed our children. We feel like, I don't want my children to grow the way I was brought up, as if there was something wrong. There wasn't something wrong. We actually also took part in the life that has changed today. If my child says, I want an iPhone, you can't even yourself pay your accounts, but you make sure you get your child an iPhone. Why? We used to work for what we want. If I need school shoes, I had to do some spring cleaning. Then they will give me money to buy shoes. Whatever I wanted, I had to work for. But today it's like, oh, because I'm a parent, I need my children to, to be nice. I want my children not to suffer. Whatever your child asks you to do without doing any work.
But it seems in as much as we've progressed as society, some things remain the same. That you spoke that when you were growing up as a young woman, you were taught to be a lady, to be conservative, somebody must marry you. So they must find you in a position where you know how to walk, how to sit, how to behave, and how to talk and laugh.
Yeah.
You find that in some households, still young women are being groomed to be ladies.
Yeah.
It's something that is encouraged because they must be taken by a man at some point. So is that not unfortunate that we still make as if it is some sort of a qualification? It's a beautiful thing to find love and to be married, but it certainly cannot in most households be seen as the be-all and end-all.
Yes, that's how we were taught. But I think today, as a parent, I'm telling my kids, you go to school, but you must have your own company, because I did not like. Why should you go to school to work for somebody? Why should you behave because you want to get married? Isn't that part and parcel of being groomed and nurtured, not necessarily because you have to do this when you get older. You have to be nurtured. You have to be taught good things, how to behave. That is natural.
And then on to women's rights. Many have been talking, particularly Minister Bathabile Dlamini. She spoke at the official event in Paarl. She talked about the protection order. I've spoken to a number of women that have sat here and said, we need to relook this protection order. We need to relook at what it was intended to do, and is it in fact succeeding in that respect? Because here you are, you find that a woman loses her life, and in her house she had applied for a protection order. You discover that when you go through the records, this woman has gone to the police station, she had a protection order, but she somehow could not stop her enraged spouse from taking her life. What is your view on that conversation around protection orders?
I think the protection order is like saying hi to somebody. Hello, that's it, then you pass. Does it work? Because it doesn't. Why did we have the protection order? For what? For whom? And why? It doesn't make sense. We have a protection order which protects who? Me, you, or somebody who's abusing me? It doesn't. I think that in some of the, I don't know whether constitution or laws that we have, there are so many disfactory because it doesn't make sense, some of them.
So what were we supposed to have, or at least at this point, are we supposed to have some sort of imbis or with the police to say, let the community contribute to this concept of the protection order, to say, perhaps if I come and report that my husband has hit me, you not only must give me a paper that will be a deterrent, there clearly is an issue psychologically with my man. Can you take him through some sort of a program?
Yes.
Not give me a paper and think that somebody who does something that it's not so sensible can suddenly find sense when they see a paper.
Yes.
So perhaps we could have something where put them on a program after they've touched me once. Community service, they need to go and assist battered women. They need to go for counseling because the problem is with him. But if you think a paper will suddenly change his mindset, it's a problem.
Maybe in the police force, protection order is like a shield. Yeah, it's like a shield. But that very same shield, does it protect you? It doesn't.
Not at this point.
Even if they are not arrested to be sent to jail, but I think they should have an institution that when you as a woman have actually have the protection order, they can come and take the husband, then they will sort out the work things and whatever, like the very same program, like for a week or 2 weeks. And let's see how it's going to unfold. You know, because at the end of the day, even if you report, sometimes it doesn't work. They need proof. What kind of a proof do police really need? I know some women would say, no, he beat me 2 years ago and then again after 2 years. But at the end of the day, that woman would be dead. And most of us, as women, we don't report. Why? Because we feel like we are hanging in there in those men. Because they are providers, because I cannot provide as a woman, that means I have nowhere to go. I still have to be in that marriage because my children are going to suffer.
It talks to the economic participation.
Yeah, I don't know where that notion comes from.
Thank you very much for your time today. You've actually just given me an idea for my next guest, who should be a female law enforcer, to talk about what they go through. But thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And that's where we leave it. Until next time, good night.